going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the stream, and today we're going to be recapping the results of our first offseason, and then we're going to take a look at some of the new faces on the squad in an early season matchup. Before we dive into the game plan, let's take a minute to talk about how this offseason played out heading into year 2. Now, we didn't go on a spending spree, but we were deliberate, kind of rounding out our roster with an eye towards present stability and long-term value. First up, our biggest move of the offseason was Cedric Mullins. We signed him to a 3-year deal worth just over $20 million annually. He was clearly a target for us. We needed a center fielder, and we wanted a reliable left-handed bat in the middle of our order, and he really checked every box. He plays elite defense and brings legit speed, and gives us the transitional presence in the outfield until guys like Theo Gillen and Enrique Reyna are ready. And if things break right, he might even bring back a nice trade package and a return down the road. Next up was Walker Buehler, who we locked in on a 2-year deal. He's the same guy who used to dominate in Los Angeles, but even after a rough year in Boston, where his ERA was kind of ugly, but the FIP was okay, well, we saw enough in him to take a chance. He's got some upside and some experience, and if he happens to figure it out, he could be a nice rotation piece for the next couple years or a fantastic trade deadline chip. Jose Leclerc also is going to be joining our bullpen on a 1-year deal. He's had an up and down career, mostly because of some command issues, but when he's right, his underlying metrics, especially FIP, tend to love him. Not expecting fireworks out of him, but if we get a steady arm with his swing and miss ability, that's a win. We also grabbed Jake Fraley off the non-tender market. Definitely a platoon guy, but he mashes right-handed pitching really well and fits pretty well alongside some of the guys like Dylan Carlson and Nelson Velasquez on the corners. A little speed, a little pop, not a needle mover necessarily, but a smart depth piece who could turn into a nice surprise. And finally, we brought in Austin Hedges on a 1-year deal. This one was more about mentorship than production. We've got 2 young catchers in Agustin Ramirez and Joe Mack, so Hedges gives them a veteran voice while also helping stabilize our pitching staff with his elite defense behind the plate. We also made a couple of trades, kind of on the smaller end, but ones I think could pan out for us in the long run. First off, we're going to send Adam Mazur to Kansas City in exchange for Jhonker Ugarte. Sorry, that is a very difficult name to pronounce. Mazur was a fine swingman for us last year, but I didn't really see him sticking around with a long-term role. On the other hand, Ugarte is a 19-year-old third baseman with a balanced skill set and mid-C potential. Gonna need to work on his approach to the plate, but definitely a lot to work with here. We also ended up flipping Jesus Tinoco to the Baltimore Orioles for relief pitcher Keeler Morphy. He's a 19-year-old relief prospect who brings straight gas to our bullpen, hopefully in the future, and gets quite a bit of whiffs. Tinoco pitched okay for us last year, but I feel like the regression monster was coming in hot for him this season. And we got a lot of young bullpen arms knocking on the door of the Major League squad, so I'd rather give them a chance than somebody aging like Tinoco. Now, a couple of guys I did look to trade this past offseason were Jonah Bride and Otto Lopez, as we talked about in the previous episode. We had them on the block, but I just couldn't really find any trades that I really liked, so I ended up keeping them around. I also didn't like any of the replacements options in free agency, so for now we're going to keep them in the same roles we had them in last year and kind of reevaluate mid-season. We also made a couple of internal adjustments this offseason, most notably shifting Edward Cabrera and Ryan Weathers into full-time bullpen roles. It just felt like the right time for both of them. For Cabrera, this move could really be a game changer. His starter days were plagued by inconsistency, but in short bursts, I think his stuff could really jump off the page. Take a look at his hits per 9 and Ks per 9 ratings. They're both kind of flirting with 90s, so that's pretty nice. Kind of hoping that his simplified usage lets him attack hitters more frequently without worrying about pacing himself or managing deeper counts like you would have to in a starter's role. Weathers is more of a calculated gamble. Seen some flashes with him, but he's not been quite electric as Cabrera. But I think there's still some untapped value in a more focused role. He might not blow anyone away, but he could be a steady left-handed option for us in the bullpen, and we could use that kind of depth. Before we continue on, here's a quick look at how things are shaping up into the season. Lineup's got a nice mix of speed, contact, and a decent amount of pop. Rotation's a little top-heavy, but we added some veteran stability, which is nice. And the bullpen is definitely younger. We've got some young arms that can miss bats. Plenty of competition across the board, which is exactly what I like in a bullpen. Now we're off to the gameplay. We're going to be jumping into Game 2 of the 2026 season as we go on the road into Arlington to take on the Texas Rangers. We had a strong 5-3 victory on opening day, powered by a couple of new guys in both Cedric Mullins and Jake Fraley going deep. We're going to keep the focus here on the new free agent signings. That's going to be Walker Buehler, Cedric Mullins, Jake Fraley, and if the situation calls for it, Jose Leclerc. And let's get into it. The top of the first is here, and the first man we're going to see is Walker Buehler making his Marlins debut on the bump. First batter is going to be Leody Taveras, and in a 3-2 count, Buehler breaks him off with a nasty curveball for a backward strikeout. Absolutely froze him. Then he gets Marcus Semien to roll over on a 2-2 pitch for a soft ground out to short and out number 2. And finally, Corey Seager sees a 2-2 fastball up in the zone, but Buehler blows it by him. Strong start to the day for our veteran signing of Buehler. Now Cedric Mullins steps into the box. He's going to be first pitch swinging, fastball up and in, but absolutely no shot. He's very late and pops it sky high to third base, and that will be a quick trip to the plate for him. Back to Buehler in the bottom of the second. Wyatt Langford is going to get a 1-2 sweeper that catches just a little too much of the plate as he rips it to center field for the leadoff single. Jake Burger is up next and, first pitch is a meatball, 92 right down Broadway, and Burger launches it out to right. Exit velocity only 93 miles per hour, but it clears the wall with ease, and the Rangers take an early 2-0 lead. Adolis Garcia is going to follow by going after the cutter that leaks out over the plate, and then it's going to be another base knock. 3 straight hitters on base to kick off this second inning. Luis Campusano will finally fly out to right field. That's going to be out number 1. And then it's Josh Jung in a 1-2 count, inducing a worm burner to short to start the 6-4-3 inning double play rally killer. Now we've got Jake Fraley with a runner on. Fell behind early 0-2, but he fights his way back to 3-2 and works a beautiful walk. He would end up getting driven in by Jared Cerna on a double, and we tie this one up at 2 with Walker Buehler back on the bump. Evan Carter leading it off against him. Decent cutter here from Buehler, but it's hammered right back up the middle for another hit. Taveras is now first pitch swinging, and this one's going to lead to an easy fly out to left field. Now Marcus Semien gets a fastball and crushes it. A piss rod, but caught by Edwards at short for the second out. Honestly, might have been more self-defense than anything, because I don't even think he had any time to move. Corey Seager at the dish now, drawing a 2-0 count after getting squeezed a bit, but Buehler stays composed, and he's going to get him to fly out to right field for the final out of the inning. Mullins back up at the dish again, works it to a 3-1 count, but he chases this high fastball, which could have been ball 4. Now in the full count, he's going to swing right through this one for a strikeout. Not a great couple of at-bats to kick off this one for Mullins. In the top of the 4th, Dylan Carlson puts us ahead with a solo shot, so Buehler's back out of the bump with a 3-2 lead. He's going to get Langford to go down quick. 3 pitches, 3 strikes. You'll love to see it. But Jake Burger is back and, oh boy, absolutely destroys a sweeper. Big fly to center field for his second home run of the game. He is killing us. Adolis Garcia steps in. He's going to rope one towards first base, and wow, he almost took Agustin Ramirez's head off, but good play by the young buck, and hey, look, he's still alive. Luis Campusano is going to grind through a long out bat, spoiling a bunch of really nice pitches here, finally getting a cutter to his liking, and he drills this one in the gap in left center for an easy double. That's going to bring up Josh Jung, who's going to step in and hammer this fastball off the wall and left. Burger's going to score, and Josh Jung's going to end up at second base, and the Rangers are back in front 4-3. But no big deal as Evan Carter steps to the plate as Buehler bounces back with a 1-2-3. Take your seat, young buck. Big strikeout there, and we're back to the sticks. Next time through the order, Jake Fraley getting another look, works another full count and gets frozen on a fastball. But the ump bails him out with a gift and another walk for him. Unfortunately, we were unable to bring him around, so Buehler goes back out there still down a run. Taveras is up again, and Buehler falls behind 3-1 and gets slapped around for another base hit. But here comes our young backstop, Joe Mack. Buehler's going to spike a curveball for the wild pitch, but Mack smothers it and guns out Taveras trying to take second base. What a play by Mack. Semien's going to follow up and get fooled on a nasty sweeper. That's going to be a nice strikeout for out number 2. And then Corey Seager jumps on an 0-2 pitch here, but a solid play at third base will end the inning. Now Cedric Mullins steps to the plate again, this time facing lefty Walter Pennington, who's going to bring a weak fastball inside, and that baby is crushed. A no-doubter blast to right field, and the Marlins tie it up. 424 feet from home plate, 104 miles per hour off the bat. Make that back-to-back games with a big fly to start his Marlins career. Later that inning, Jake Fraley's spot in the order would come up, but we had a runner on second base with 2 outs and a lefty on the bump, so we had to go for a pinch hit opportunity. Brought in Nelson Velasquez, and that move paid off as he ripped a base hit to drive him in from second base to give us the lead back. With the middle of the order coming up and a 1-run cushion, Walker Buehler's day is going to be done, so we're going to turn it over to Jose Leclerc. Wyatt Langford will be up first, and on a 2-2 slider, he's going to fly out to center field. No big deal there. Now we got to face Jake Burger again, and simply nobody can stop this man. He rips another hit past Ramirez at first base. This one will turn into a stand-up double. Then a wild slider from Leclerc nearly ends up in the first base dugout, and that's going to move Burger up to third. But Leclerc responds nicely with a huge strikeout of Adolis Garcia. Then facing Luis Campusano, he's going to grind out another AB, fouling off several pitches, earning himself a walk, putting them on the corners. But Josh Jung cannot get the job done. Does jump on this one, hits it to deep center, but Cedric Mullins is all over it to run it down for the end of the inning as we hang on to a very slim lead. Cedric Mullins will get another opportunity for an at-bat in the 7th inning. Going to go after this fastball in the outside half of the plate, but not going to get too much on it as that is going to be a 6-3 simple putout. But we tack on a nice insurance run in the 9th, giving Cedric one last chance. And with another lefty on the mound, he'll be first pitch swinging and smoke it into right field for the RBI single, extending our lead to 3, making it game, set, and match. Anthony Bender would come in to close it out in the 9th inning, but not before a little bit of drama, letting a couple runners on base. But we would get out of this one with a 7-4 victory, moving to 2-0 on the young season. Taking a final look at the final stat lines for our veterans. Walker Buehler, not an outstanding start for him, but he battled and was able to pick up the win. 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts, and the 4 earned runs. Cedric Mullins was very, very good. 2 for 5 with a home run and 2 RBIs. And man, 2 hits off of lefties. That'll play, man. That'll play. Jake Fraley had no official ABs in this one, but did work 2 walks and score a run. Very professional at bats all night long for him. And then finally, Jose Leclerc had a little bit of chaos in his 1 inning of work, but was able to escape unhinged and unscathed in a huge spot to keep us with the lead. Anyways, that's all I have for you in this one. Happy to see the squad start the season hot. Hopefully we can keep it rolling as we go forward. The next episode is going to jump forward to the MLB draft as we keep speeding through these first couple of seasons. We'll recap how guys are doing across the organization and see what we can do for an encore after drafting a generational talent last year. But in the meantime, between time, I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'm gone. Deuces!